What happens after CAP? Well, next is looking for a job. Hi, my name is Veronica. I create informative videos about nursing career and what it's like living here in New Zealand. If you find that topic interesting, then please consider subscribing. Alright, let's begin. So, topic natin today, it will be NZRN Job Hunting Tools, Cover Letter, CV, at saka Interview. Alright? Tapos, from my last video, I shared some information, what happens after CAP, once ma-receive nyo na yung APC, yung inyong nurses pin, and then I also discussed about district health boards, about public and private hospitals, primary health organization, and ano yung mga possible job search website na pwede nyong gamitin. And if you missed that video, I'll link it in the YouTube card above the screen, somewhere there. So for today, we'll just discuss about writing your cover letter and your CV and preparing for the interview. So syempre pa, disclaimer muna tayo. Needless to say, yung chance nyo to be hired will always be depending sa ano yung experience nyo. Syempre pa, extra bonus if maganda yung CV mo, if maganda yung cover letter mo, at maayos yung pagsagot mo sa mga interview. But at the end of the day, depende pa rin yun sa ano yung experience mo, what you bring in the table, kung hika nga nila. Anyway, that's just my bits about that. So, in writing a cover letter, I divided this into format, content, at saka yung general information. So, yung sa format na I use before sa Philippines, ang ginagamit ko whenever I write letters, yung date is nasa right-hand side, tapos yung heading, salutation, and then nasa left side, and then you have the body na indented. And then I noticed sa mga letters na na-receive ko from New Zealand, kahit na nasa Philippines pa ako, they use a block format na lahat ng parts ng letter is nasa left side. Everything is aligned there. Tapos, wala silang indention. So, I decided na when I write cover letters, I'll just do the same format as well kasi I feel like perhaps dun sila mas sanay and I don't want to be too different. That's just my thoughts. Anyway, later in this video, I'll show you some examples of cover letters from a New Zealand website. Okay, so abangan nyo lang yun shortly. Yung content, typical parts of the letter, alam niyo naman to, nag-IELTS tayong lahat. So, alam niyo to, di ba? At saka, I'm not sure sa OET, hindi kasi ako nag-OET eh. Lagay niyo sa section below if did you have to write a letter for OET kasi hindi ako familiar. So, sa parts ng letter, traditionally, nasa taas yung contact section, that's your contact information. But you only do that for if you're mailing the letters. And since 2020 now, we always do our applications online. So, I don't really have my contact section na nasa taas. I'll show it to you later in my example. And of course, the date, kung kailan nyo sinulat yung letter, advertiser's name and organization, salutation. So usually you just write dear, kung ano man yung pangalan ng person to be contacted. Or sometimes, if wala yung information, I still go to dear sir/ma'am. I'm not sure. Kayo ba? Ano bang nilagay nyo? And then sa body ng cover letter, usually andyan lang yung introduction, you explain your interest in the job, how you will fit in, experience, skill, ask employer to contact you about your application. And then finally, yung last section would be your complimentary closure. So yun yung respectfully yours, o kaya yours sincerely. And then finally, gaya nga ng sabi ko kanina, if it's an email, if you're uploading your cover letter and your CV, usually I just write my contact information sa pinakababa. So I will sign my name and then email address or mobile phone, ganyan. And then general, yung sa cover letter na when you're writing, so you just use yung isang font color lang, huwag masyadong makulay, at saka isang font size. At saka when you're choosing the type of font, ako kasi sinisimplihan ko lang. Either Times New Roman, or Arial, or siguro Calibri sometimes. Pero as much as possible, simple lang siya. Tapos, you also use simple language kasi you're trying to relate to your reader, di ba, na nagbabasa ng cover letter mo. At saka, you proofread. Very important, you proofread. Check for spelling and grammar. At saka, avoid photos and images. Tapos, yun nga, be brief, 1 page lang. And your cover letter is not a repetition of your CV. Kasi minsan, siguro, ako before, aminado ko na parang when I write cover letter, the first time I did it, I wasn't really sure what to include, what to write. So parang nilagay ko lang yung, nilagay ko lang kung ano yung nilagay ko sa CV. Pero now, I've come to realize na there's actually a different way of doing that. Needless to say, gaya nga ng sabi ko, marami namang iba na they don't have to be really tedious about the details of writing a cover letter. Natatanggap pa rin naman sila sa trabaho. But this is just, I'm putting this video up just to give you extra information. Okay? So, silipin natin yung example ko for writing a cover letter. So, I will link this sample sa description box below. Pakisilip na lang po. So, gaya nga yung sabi ko kanina, if you're writing in a block format for business letters, usually yung contact details mo would be on top. But I only ever do this if I am mailing my letter. Otherwise, if I'll upload it or send it as an email, I don't really include this part here. So, I usually just start with the date kung kailan ko sinulat yung letter. And then, yung advertiser's information, tapos yung pangalan nila. And then, sometimes I write this part here about kung tungkol saan yung ina-applyan mo. But usually, I would just include it in the body of my letter. So, usually, I would start with saying, I'm writing this letter in response to your advertisement as a full-time or part-time registered nurse for anong klaseng ward, ganyan. Tapos, yung second part ng paragraph ko, usually, I would include kung ano yung mga skills ko, experience ko, at saka kung paano ko, kung ano yung feeling ko na strengths ko and would be a good asset for the organization. So, yung example na binigay nila dito, they've actually used bullet points for experience, skills, and performance. I haven't done it before, but kayo, if you feel like you could organize your thoughts much better if you use bullet points, you could also try that as well. Tapos, you make sure lang na sa last bit ng letter mo na you would also include yung intention mo, to be interviewed. Wala lang, parang pa-last bit lang, papogi lang. Na yun nga, you'd like to be considered for the role. Tapos, yours sincerely, and then your name. Diba? Tapos ako, with my letters, I usually write my contact details at the bottom. That's just how I've done it before. Pero yun, kayo, depende naman kung you feel comfortable with this format. Okay? So, balik lang tayo sa slides ko. Alright, so next, after ng cover letter, syempre, writing your CV. So, I divided this information into format, content, and general info lang. So, sa format, pwedeng skill-focused or work-focused. Skill-focused, usually ginagamit to ng mga applicants na kakagraduate pa lang or merong gap sa work experience. For us, I think much better yung work-focused kasi it highlights your experience. Tapos yun nga, when you're writing your CV, just use short sentences. Tapos wag masyadong cluttered yung information, yung parang it looks too bulky. You can use heading or you can cut information by using bullet points and breakup blocks. Again, may papakita kong sample ng CV dito later para mas maintindihan yung ina-explain ko. Content, as usual, is your name and your contact details. Yung summary, meron kasing iba na gumagamit ng career objectives. Ako naman, I take advantage of summary if yung qualifications ko, yung experience ko is really matching dun sa job description. So, for example, kailangan nila ng 3 years, nurse na merong more than 3 years experience sa medical ward na nagna-nurse. Tapos, kunyari, ikaw, ganun din yung experience mo. So, pwede mong gawin sa summary mo, lagay mo lang doon na, kunyari, 5 years ka, lagay mo lang 5 years clinical experience post-registration. So, nasa taas siya kaagad, tapos makikita nila kaagad na, uy, parang may potential tong CV na to, parang ito yung hinahanap ko. Ganyan. Ewan ko, yun lang yung ginagawa ko. Ewan ko ba, nakatulong ba yung tip na yun sa inyo? Bit is career history and your experience. Tapos, syempre pa, I always write yung most recent experience ko, pa-old experience. Tapos, yung content lang dyan, name of your employer, your role, yung location, kung Philippines, or if you have, overseas qualification, kunyari, UAE, ganyan. Tapos, start date and end date. Tapos, qualification and education, yung Bachelor of Nursing. Tapos, if tapos nyo na yung CAP, Competency Assessment Program. Tapos, you can also include trainings. Pero, I think yun nga, just choose yung mga training na relevant. Kasi, pag masyadong madami, hindi rin naman nila yan lahat babasahin. So, syempre, mas makikita nila, I think it will give you extra points if yung mga training na you've undertaken really match what is needed by their job description. Okay? Interest, actually, I don't really write interest na information sa CV ko, pero dun sa nahanap kong website, sabi nila doon, if yung interest mo will somehow showcase your leadership skills, ganyan, na would also match what they need, then it would be good as well to write that bit. But again, I don't really write any information about interest. Kasi nga, di ba sabi ko sa inyo sa natin kong video, wala akong masyadong interest. Ito lang, pag-YouTube, pag-shopping, di ba? Wala naman yung kinalaman sa nursing. So, I don't really include that information. And finally, referees. Tapos, most dito sa New Zealand, they need at least 2 referees. Tapos, yung isa kailangan yung current manager mo. Tapos, again, when you write that information, most recent pa old. Tapos, yun lang, first and last name ng referee mo, job title, organization, at saka contact details, phone, at saka email. Tapos, general information, yun nga, kailangan yung color, isa lang, black font, 1 font size, simple language, check for spelling and grammar, avoid photos and images. Ito, di ba dati, hindi ko alam kung ako lang ba, but definitely sa Philippines, yung mga CV ko before, may picture. Kaya siguro hindi ako natatanggap. Na-joke lang. Pero dito, even yung mga videos na nakikita ko na interview ng mga sa HR, they definitely discourage putting your photos sa CV. Like I said, again, at the end of the day, depende pa rin naman yung sa experience mo. If talagang you have very good experience, and I know other people na naglagay ng photo sa CV nila, natanggap naman sila, wala naman naging problema. But I'm just telling you na based sa mga information na nabasa ko while preparing for this video and for my personal experience as well, they definitely, you don't have to put any photos or images in your CV. Okay? Tapos, as much as possible, be brief, pero you put the important information there. Before, yung CV ko, mga 4 pages yata yun, but now, I've learned to write CV na maximum 2 pages lang. O, diba? Okay, so now, I'll show you some templates. Okay, again, ulitin ko lang po, yung ipapakita ko sa inyong template. Ibibigay ko yung link sa description box below, pakisilip na lang. And although hindi siya, yung sample dito, it was not really for nurse na applicant, I think I'll just give you an idea what I mean with the CV formatting. So, andyan yung pangalan nyo, and then your contact details. Okay? Tapos, yung mga key skills, kung gusto nyo lagyan ng sample skills dito, summary, career history, education. So, makikita nyo na dito na ma-maximize yung isang page. Tapos, kaya nga nasabi ko, yung interest, kung gusto nyong lagyan. Tapos, yung reference, dito yung example nila is available upon request. But ako, definitely, ini-include ko na kaagad yung reference ko, yung name nila and contact details. And syempre pa, if yung reference nyo, bago nyo ilagay yung pangalan, magsabi muna po tayo na gagawin nyo silang reference para hindi naman sila magulat. And bigay ko pa sa inyong isa pang template dito ng example of a good resume or CV. Yan yung example. Merong name, professional email, o diba? Tapos location. O, ayan na. Okay? Meron pang iba achievements, o diba? So, abot ng 2 pages. Okay, so sana nabigyan kayo ng idea kahit papano. Okay, so balik lang tayo sa slides ko. Okay, so preparing for an interview, magsimula tayo dun sa part na natanggap niyo yung email dun sa mga in-applyan nyo. Sabi dun, for example, Dear Mark, congratulations on being shortlisted. Tapos, they would provide interview details kung kailan, anong oras, at saka if it's in person, by phone, or video. Tapos, syempre pa, kunyari, hindi naman talaga kayo available on that date and time, you can also inform them. Tapos, pwede nyo naman pag-usapan kung pwede bang i-adjust yung date. Tapos, I've tried being interview sa in-person, by phone, at saka by video. Medyo mahaba na tong topic na to, so hindi na ako mag-provide ng example. But if you're still interested to know more about that, let me know in the comment section below para I'll try and upload a separate video about it. Tapos, yung email na yun may kasamang instructions, may map kung saang part ng hospital kayo dapat pumunta, tapos may list ng mga panel ng mga magi-interview sa inyo. So, iba-ibang situation yan guys ha. So, for example, nung nag-apply ako and na-interview sa rest home, 1 or 2 person yung involved sa panel or yung isang in-applyan ko, isang nga lang yun siya yung nurse manager. So, depende talaga. Pag DHB yung applyan nyo, yung public hospital, usually mga 3 to 4 ang mga nasa panel. Yung nurse manager, kung merong coordinators, at saka merong recruitment person na involved doon sa panel. Tapos, usually, ang duration yan, mga 30 minutes to 1 hour. Tapos, ang laman ng email, either i-remind lang nila kayo to bring your passport, just para makita nila yung mga information nyo, or yung iba, i-attach nila yung health checklist na kailangan yung fill-upan. Okay? Tapos, meron ding information about sa contact person if meron kayong questions or yun nga gusto nyong i-negotiate yung date and time of interview, then merong contact person doon para pwede nyong email or tawagan. Tapos, bibigyan nila kayo instruction na read the job description. Siyempre, importante din yun, di ba? Para alam mo na yung pinapasok kong klaseng trabaho. Okay? So, before the interview, research the organization. I'm not sure if na-mention ko na kanina na when you are writing your CV, your cover letter, try to tailor fit it dun sa company na pag-a-applyan mo, diba? Para naman nakikita nila na nag-effort ka din on your part. O, diba? Baka mamaya naman, diba? Iba pa yung contact details mo na malagay mo na para pala yun sa ibang employer, diba? So, you have to double check as well. Tsaka yun nga, research the organization para ikaw may idea ka rin at saka you feel more comfortable kasi kahit papaano may alam ka. Tapos, review your cover letter and CV. Again, inulit ko ulit, read the job description. Look the parts. Syempre, you don't have to wear anything expensive naman as long as you look, organized and tidy, ganyan, okay na yun. Tapos, know where the interview will be para ma-arrange mo kung kailangan mo bang mag-drive or if you have to go by public transport, make sure mag-allot ka ng extra time or kunyari, maglalakad ka. So, maglagay ka ng extra hours para maka-retouch ka pa. Hours talaga. Extra minutes before the interview, diba? Para you can compose yourself as well, diba? If you are going to attend the phone or video interview, make sure you've charged your phone, your tablet, you have a quiet area where you can answer the call. Tapos, if you're giving out your email address for the video call, yung handler mo or yung username ng account mo, dapat professional din siya. And finally, research common interview questions. So, marami naman itong available online, but yung in my experience, usually automatic yun kasama yung introduce yourself, tapos meron about strength and your weaknesses, conflict management, yung magbibigay ka ng example how you manage conflict sa work, cultural safety, including yung Treaty of Waitangi, at saka may mga ibang employers they ask about clinical situation, what you will do in certain situations, or you can give out examples relating to that topic. Okay, so but I will not expand on that na kasi nga ang haba-haba na ng video na ito. I hope you guys were comfortable watching this video. I do apologize na it's ang haba, parang nobela. Next time, I'll try to be brief. Try is the word. So, anyway, finally, my final thoughts. So, like I said, At the end of the day, you will be judged based on your experience. And the only reason why I'm giving you pointers in writing your CV, cover letter, and preparing yourself for interview because you want to be your best self. And more importantly, you want to highlight your best self. Diba? Na you're organized, yes. At saka meron kang mga ganitong experience, diba? At saka professional yung look ng cover letter mo, CV, at saka ang aura mo for the entire interview. Okay? So anyway, yun lang muna from me. I hope meron kayong natutunan kahit papano. As always, I wish you all the best with your journey and I hope you'll have a blessed day. Bye!